fly so far, but I can't lose it.
The road to the INDYCAR Buttkicker iRacing Pro Series makes its way back to the racing capital of the world. And here on the corner of Georgetown and 16th Street, we get ready to hit the halfway mark of the INDYCAR Buttkicker iRacing Qualifying Series. Hi folks, delighted you join us once again here on RaceSpotTV, our Junior Kenki Party, ready to walk you through what is bound to be an exciting 37 laps of racing here at the road course at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. We're of course coming off the race at the Alabama roller coaster, the Barber Motorsports Park, which saw Diogo Pinto storm his way into victory lane and re-establish himself well and truly in points contention at the top of the Provisional Championship. Remember, if you're joining us for the very first time, 7 races, drivers accumulate points, and the fastest and highest scoring 33 drivers at the end of the 7-round season begin their championship fight on September the 19th. They do have the liberty of that one and only one drop week. How are they thinking about that? Of course, next week we will head back to the ovals, albeit for the final time, short oval racing at the Worldwide Technology Raceway, bound to be full of drama. Let's take a look at the points. Diogo Pinto, the winner a week ago, he leapfrogs his way into the top 5, but it's Jose Soria that leads, with Jordan Caruso only 10 points adrift. Brandon Trainer, who's for the most part being buried down in second split on these road courses, he sits in third, showing what consistency can do to build you up in terms of points, with Michele Costantini, Pinto, Malechka, Muto, Coitet, McEwen, Berryman, Chin and Crane, the rest of the top 12. Quite interesting to note that Traino, Malechka, Chin and Crane all can be arguably said to be somewhat IndyCar regulars, as opposed to the rest somewhat more new to this car, but very much taking to it very, very quickly. So qualifying underway right now, and not sure how important this qualifying session is going to end up being. Now, it is a relatively short race, all things considered, 37 laps, but the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, one of those few tracks with the alternate compound of tire, harder in its actual nature, gives a little less grip, but it's more durable, just seems to work a little bit better, and so maybe we are going to see some drivers on some slightly weird strategies and going short on the tire that maybe traditionally you'd expect them to go long on. Sotomuto's just jumped to 10th in qualifying. With less than 2 minutes left to rumble, Florian Lebigra is one of 2 drivers not on the board. So is Lucas Prada, and Prada seems to be done for qualifying. Here comes David Toff. He's the only other driver outside of Lebigra that is currently on a flying lap. Toff down in 16th position in his Drago racing machine. Here comes, though, red line number 10. Currently, as it sits right now, it's red line 1, 2, 3, and 4. Can they make it a lockout of the top 5? They were quick at Barber. And Lebigra with the pressure on in qualifying, 109.421. It will put him up in front of Gustavo Ariel, and it's red line sweeping the top 5 in qualifying. Unless David Toth has got something to say. Here he comes. Drago racing car looking very, very different than, of course, what they started the year with. Now, that lap time, is that... Yeah, surely that wasn't the right one. Well, maybe it was, because he does not improve. And interesting, that is session done and dusted, it would seem. Pablo Espez is still out on track, but has already completed his 2 hot laps. These are just some additional laps for practice that he's getting under his belt. And, well, here's the ride off into turn 1. Imagine what that's going to be like with 28 Dallara IR18s. That's the number we've got in this top split of competition. Fired off into the first corner. Then you've got this weird, long, it's almost a double right in some ways, but steering never really straightens out. Don't take the double hairpin, instead flick your way through the chicane back onto Holman Boulevard. And now one run into a primary passing opportunity. And again, a place on the opening lap, expecting there to be, well, a decent amount of chaos. So we've seen 3 races done and dusted. This marks the halfway mark of the season, and 3 races for drivers to make sure they are fighting come September the 19th at the beginning of the INDYCAR Buttkicker iRacing Pro Series. Let's see how they line up for the 4th round of the qualifying series. And once again, it is red line on top. And once again, It's Eduardo Leo that's forgotten to get the red line livery put onto his car. Alongside, though, Sam Coitet, Diogo Pinto, Florian Labigra, and Gustavo Ariel. 3/10 amongst the teammates. And then Ricardo Rico in the Drago racing car. He'll be the first to try and challenge from 6th position. Go back to 7th to find the likes of Phil Kraus, Michele Costantini, and then Elliot Veyron and Pablo Esper. Sota Muto and Jordan Caruso. Remember, Caruso sitting 2nd in points. The third of the Coanda drivers runs in 12th. Go back to 13th position to find your way on the grid to Cooper Webster, who, remember, qualified and ran very well at Barber. He's got some work to do in that Oracle Red Bull Racing sim racing with Team Redline machine in 13th. Former points leader, but now buried back in the midst of the top 10. Luke McEwen's got some work to do. Jose Soria, Peter Berryman, David Toth, and Michael Romanidis. All some ways back from where the drivers up front are lining up, and so Redline really showing up with a qualifying rocket. Munoz and Simon, rest of the top 20, with Johnny and Zelensky, Coanda teammates, sharing row number 11. It's Oscar Mangan, the Irishman, alongside of Nathan Moore in the first of the World Sim Racing entries, and 25th goes the way of Nico Wierzbicki, Daniel Ferguson, Manuel Cubo Torres, and Lucas Prada. Rest of the field, just one driver as mentioned, no time on the board, but we are starting to see some smaller splits. Remember, we've seen fields as big as 33, this race at 28. There's a couple more drivers down in that second split than maybe they would have anticipated. The drivers will get a full flying formation lap, so plenty of time to get some heat, some temperature into their tires. And you can take a look at the weather conditions. It's toasty out there on track, 42 degrees Celsius. Works out in the other units. Let me just ask the internet. 108 Fahrenheit. Winds gusting around as well, so that will be interesting just to keep an eye on. Not much cloud cover indicated from partly cloudy, but I look up in the sky and it looks very, very dark. Anyway, be that as that may, should be a fun one. Let's take a look at tire compounds and who's starting on what, left side of the screen. Right, so top 6. Ricardo Rico joins the Redline teammates and starting on the alternates. Jaden Munoz in 19th and Manuel Cubo Torres in 27th, also electing to start on the alternates. Very interesting call. Might end up seeing a bit of a short stint from them. Come in for a longer stint on the harder compound primary, which the rest of the field does seem to have rather taken a fancy to. In terms of fuel number, don't think that's necessarily the most important thing here today, but if you are curious, fuel tank can go, well, 21 laps potentially. Depends on how thirsty you're going to be with the right foot, I guess, but if it's a 21 lap stint on the primaries that you're aiming for, it means only 16 laps on the alternates. Work backwards, do your math from there. And trust but verify the commentator's math. Some big names, though, very much buried in the pack. Webster, Caruso, 12th and 13th for them. Remember, Webster was quick in Barber. Maybe not as quick as Pinto, but he's got some work to do. Buried in the mid-pack. Berryman and his Apex Racing teammate just in front of him, actually, in the starting formation. That would be nice for them to try and coordinate and work together on this race start. Who else is a little bit further back from where they would expect? Well, Michael Johnny's had a decent season, all things considered. Jaden Munoz can be quick around here. It'll be very interesting to see how he goes from deep on that alternate strategy, deep in the pack, but starting on the alternates. Well, it's time to place your bets if you haven't already. Throw them in chat in the RaceSpotTV, YouTube, or Twitch. Who you think's going to come out on top after what should be a fascinating 37 laps that lie ahead of us? And oh, interesting. Eduardo Leo in-game does have a Team Redline livery. Our graphics package just seems to have forgotten it. Anyway, pace car off and away. Let's focus on the racing out on track. Here at the racing capital of the world, back here at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, this time on the road course with 37 laps in front of us. Who can come out on top and stand there in victory lane? It's going to be a long hold here from the Redline teammates up front. They're going to really try and stack up the field and coordinate the launch into the opening corner. Green flag in hand, push to pass active, and let's go racing here at the racing capital of the world. Will we see 3 wide? It seems an inevitability, surely, but not between the teammates up front who will try and cover off any moves. Phil Kraus has tried to go to the inside. One of the all-black machines, that's Pablo Espez, has gone in the middle, and a spin for one of those Coanda cars. Sam Coiter gets tangled up. Berryman may be mixed up as well. Not quite sure who else. Espez has lost a rear wing though, and he finds his car with no rear downforce and nowhere to go except the gravel. Jaden Munoz has lost out, I think, as a result of that as well. But my goodness, back onto the back straightaway, running down Holman Boulevard. And onto the brakes at turn 7 they go with Leo, Pinto, Labigra and Ariel now trying to break away from Costantini. Phil Kraus, remember, he tried to get up the inside. That did not work out for him, it would seem. Costantini +3 on that start. And a bit of a buffer being built up now up front. Speaking of, now who has stayed out of the trouble behind? That's Berryman. There's the rest of the field. It's 2 seconds up the road. And wow, what a dramatic race start. And plenty to pick apart. I already see Rico, Espez, Simon and more. 4 drivers sitting in pit lane. So coordination back off to the opening corner. Remember, these are 4 drivers on that alternate compound of tire. They'll try and steal a march on those around them. Give a shout out to Manuel Cubo Torres though, by the way. +13 on this race start. Now remember, he does have to be somewhat aggressive on those alternates. But my, that is aggression. Meanwhile, oh, speaking of, Michael Gianni, well that's a squeeze from Lucas Prado. All the time you must leave the space. Michael Gianni says, you didn't give me any, I won't give you any either. Points leader Jose Soria, he passes Prada. Now Nico Wierzbicki, Drago Racing teammate to Soria, might try and do the switch up here. And down to that section where the track did change. Got Jaden Munoz missing a bit of the front wing. Oh, he thought about the 3 wide for a moment. All action battles behind, but Munoz is deciding it's not worth coming to pit lane just yet. Maybe his front wing not actually damaged on his end. Sam Coiter, Bobby Zelensky, 2 more down on pit lane. Meanwhile, Veyron jinx past Berryman. And this has let them drop back even further from those in front. It's now 3.2 seconds between Veyron and those up the road, 10th position on back. And seemingly not showing any signs of calming down here. And Kubo Torres, he's in that other stealth black entry. To get a little confused whether that was him or Pablo Espez on the race start. I assume that a black car being involved in drama, surely it would have been the one starting a little bit further back, but no. Probably all started with Coiter up front. Now, what's rule number 1 in racing? Don't hit your teammate. Replay will tell us more what happened there. That's a big send from Kubo Torres though, and a big indication of how strong those alternates can be. Slides past Romanides, pushes himself onto the button. And next up in queue will be his former Apex teammate. Kubo Torres used to be at the Apex Racing Academy. It's Peter Berryman, but Berryman's looking on Veyron. There's a couple of moves being sent down, but toss around the outside. Down at turn 1 on Romanides. That's not going to work out as anticipated. This all as Berryman now under pressure from Kubo Torres around the outside. Surely not side by side through that chicane. Oh yes, they will indeed. It's a good thing they've got some runoff, and here comes Romanides to pick up the pieces. Berryman loses not 1, not 2, but 3. He's down to 15th spot. This is craziness. And if you're wondering why we haven't seen any replays of the start, this is why. They're still keeping things pretty active right now. Kubo Torres, next up will be Veyron, who's 5 seconds back from the top 10 now. At this point, you expect no defense to really be put up. And so, with that in mind, here we go, back to the start, lap 1, turn 1. Oh, well, there's a healthy dose of air, and then they just stack on up. Bang, bang, bang. Now, where does Pablo Espes, I don't think actually even got involved in that one initially, you know? Yeah, you see Koituk goes around. One of the Drago cars comes piling on in. Not much time to react, so there was definitely something else that happens down after this. Or maybe, excuse me, Pablo Espes is in that red and black car. So we've got different liveries on different computers, apparently. That makes it all the more confusing. Ooh. Oh, heavens. So Rico's got the damage already at this point. Nathan Moore, and Rico's the one that goes airborne as well. Tell you what, I mentioned a driver having a pretty clean race start. Let's see the perspective that Manuel Cubo Torres had, as it's now settled down a bit more on this, coming to the 6th lap of racing action. So there's one car airborne, slow down, see the smoke, get out of the way. You see that dangling rear wing, get to the inside of one car, get on the binders. Wow. That's what you call hectic. And then got a couple more freebies, it would seem. Was Espes off and wide. Oh, 4 wide. Yes, they did on lap 1. Not going to lie. Quite like being in the booth for these races because I like to just be a fan. Oh, that's where Jaden Munoz loses his rear wing. Or front wing, excuse me. Right. Replay machine gets pulled back one final time. Oh, INDYCAR went... I think that's once again a healthy dose of air. And I believe it was Elliot Veyron, other car, mixed up in that one. So up front, red line, 1 through 4. Qualified 1 through 5, but unfortunately, Sam Koituk that pays the price down at turn 1. Then, Kawanda's 5th and 7th. Caruso looking good to potentially take over the points lead. And remember I said Cooper Webster, maybe not starting in the best place. Jordan Caruso as well. Well, they've quietly, but snuck their way into the top 10 by staying out of trouble. Back over to the red line car in the midst of the pack. So Caruso in front, still seemingly does not have a Kawanda livery, has not got the orange on. He's got some purple on his car though. Have to see what Jorns Jens, Pash Gergis have to say about lack of livery. Let's see if we can get Jordan into that. We're not going to see Jordan probably in the top split next week. Remember, Worldwide Technology Raceway, it's an oval. Our split's going to be done on oval iRating, so probably going to see a few more IndyCar regulars. But Caruso did decently in his split at the first oval round of the championship, this qualifying series. It just happened to be here at the Speedway. We'll see him, though, for what will be the penultimate round and the final round of the championship. Road America and the Mid-Ohio Sports Car course to come. Now, Caruso on the button. Is that because Phil Krause has slowly just etched that margin out? You can see visually 1.3 or so seconds. Elliot Veyron's left pit lane, so is Bobby Zelensky, but Sam Koituk, Ricardo Rico, Espes, Simon, and Nathan Moore all retired and confirmed as DNFs. Oh, Peter Berriman's lost the rear wing, and that's down at turn 1. Oh, he's got to go an entire lap like this. It's not been a great summer for Berriman. All things considered, the speed's been there, the luck just has not. And now Daniel Ferguson, the next in line to slide their way on through. Oh, and he toes. Oh, that's heartbreak. You feel for Berriman, that is for sure. Let's go back in time. Dial up the replay. Ooh, and as they exit out of the final corner, already a little bit sideways is Berriman. Got Oscar Mangan on the pressure. So Berriman does go proactively. Mangan drives into the pit lane, like into the pit exit there. I don't know about that one. So he is on the push to pass, but you can see Berryman goes first. And at this point, Oscar is off the track and is relying on Berryman giving him room to get through the corner safely. Not sure. You can be the judge of that. Race control will have their say. And Oscar Mangan is, by the way, in pit lane and has been sitting there for 20 seconds. That might be day done for him. Oh, never mind. He got a black flag. So apparently Mangan's hit the drive-through penalty incident limit as a result of that. And I think he's forgotten to get his service checked in the right way, or maybe he had a meatball to serve. Whatever it may be. Traffic. Bobby Zelensky in front of your leaders. To be honest, this might be the most boring 27 laps up front that you've ever seen. These are 4 teammates who know what's at stake here. They're not going to fight. They recognize points on offer. Just get to the end. Might see some fights behind. Are we going to get to that crossover point? Remember, only need to maybe go around 16 laps on the alternates. Daniel Kubo Torres just been passed by David Toth. So have we reached that window? As much as it's Manuel Kubo Torres that we're looking at right now in this mix, might be a better comparison to take a look at the likes of maybe Costantini up to your race leader. Still 4/10 slower last time by, though. And so Eduardo Leo's getting some draft now as well. Ooh, has he got... Is his livery a little bit different than the other regular Team Redline ones? I'll wait to see the side of the car again. Did I get excited about nothing? Oh, I did. Never mind. I thought they had added a highlight. No, it was just the top of the yellow for the Red Bull logo that I saw. Anyway, still 3/10 for Costantini last lap by. Yeah, those are, for all intents and purposes, identical liveries. How would you tell them apart? You can tell this one apart because it's all by himself. Cooper Webster's on the charge, on the button. And is he going to look to the inside late? Caruso didn't defend it, to be fair. So at the end of Holman Boulevard, whoa! Again, all the time you've got to leave the space. Cooper Webster didn't want to leave much there. They make it work, but just about. Closes up the likes of Sotomuto, right onto the rear end. As we get closer and closer to that window, we're maybe expecting some drivers to pit lane. Now 1.3 seconds up front. Leo's put that lapped car between him and his teammate. So Bobby Zelensky now runs in between Leo and Pinto. Look off the back of the race leader. Eduardo Leo had a rocket ship of a setup in the first round of the VCO IndyCar Challenge. He ran that by himself as a privateer driver. Seems as though some evolutions have been made now that he's lined up with Team Redline, and that car has only gotten quicker. Also seems to maybe be using a gear more now. But that's neither here nor there. The magic 4-gear setup, just as fast maybe as the 5-gear setup. Oh, Zelensky on the grass. It's really bottlenecking up Pinto and company. Ride with Gustavo Ariel, the Brazilian. Made some feisty moves last week at the Barber Motorsport Park. But I think this is a very, again, situation that a Redline would have discussed in debrief. Zelensky is going to let 1, 2, and probably 3 pass into 1 if Ariel gets a little bit closer. Never mind. Oh, there's the mix-up, the miscommunication. Yep, Zelensky does the right thing then. Just completely pulls out of the way after his involvement in some of the opening lap skirmishes. And so those top 4. Now 1.5 between your leader and the teammates chasing him down. We've sit on board with the Apex Racing team number 4. This in the hunt for 7th position. Not much fuel saving going on. And again, just a reminder, this is a queue of cars all electing to start on what is the preferred primary compound of tyre. They will go as long as they can. 20, 21, 22, we'll see. Laps on fuel. Now, not only do they have the lift and coast, but they do have the fuel maps at their disposals to use, but push to pass takes its toll. Now, not just here, but in the fight for second, Florian Lebiger has just got past Diogo Pinto, and now as the camera pans back over to Luke McEwen, here comes the move on Sotomuto. The Williams Esports driver lets it up the inside, and the switch around for 9th position as easy as you'd like. And so former points leader now trying to do what he can. So, Pinto now being passed. It's 2 seconds the gap up between your teammates Lebiger and Leo. There's a pun there about the battle of the L's and not wanting to take an L, but I'm not punny enough. I'm not Joey Tebbin here on RaceSpotTV to put the dots together. I think Eduardo Leo might just, through that traffic, assuming he can avoid any mistakes on pit lane, not get trapped in traffic, he's executed so far to the best of his ability. Meanwhile, just at the back of the shot, Zelensky obviously flies past the front. There is Costantini and Kraus, the first drivers that are on the primary compound tyre, and now 5 seconds off the back of Gustavo Ariel. Michael Johnny gets past Manuel Kubo Torres, so still seeing that slide from the alternates down through the field. But once again, just compare the lap times. It's awfully close on lap 15 between the primaries and the alternates. So, you know, if you are the red line drivers, you recognize that the crossover point, not far away, especially with the weather conditions being where they are. 43 degrees Celsius sounds warm, but does not seem to be such a problem for the tyres itself. So maybe next time by the earliest that we can reasonably expect anyone to dive down onto pit lane. Rumble back past the southwest part of the track. Got some beautiful grandstands, got that pagoda as well. And then, of course, the braking zone into turn number 1. All running the wrong way down the yard of bricks, of course, as Luke McEwen gets past Jordan Caruso. Manuel Kubo Torres has come in. That's interesting. So he's going to try and make some sort of a fuel mileage game work. Jaden Munoz has followed him in. I much prefer this strategy from the red line teammates that lead up front. There you see the pit lane shot below. 4 Firestone tires. Fresh tank of fuel going to go on for Kubo Torres. For Munoz, might see a front wing change as well. So there goes Eduardo Leo, end of lap 16. He's now 2.5 seconds clear of his teammates. Pulled 3/10 last lap alone. Stays out. Behind. Teammates elect to stay out as well. Red line have figured something out. Now Jaden Munoz, by the way, did spend an extra 5 seconds stationary. That's going to drop him uncomfortably close into the path of the race leaders. In fact, there they go. Jaden Munoz might... Oh, he might just get out in front of Costantini and Kraus, and that's important. Does not want to get tangled up with anyone else. Back onto Holman Boulevard. You got the golf course on the left-hand side for wonderful holes to play. I planned this year to play golf right at the time so that I get into the first of the 4 holes, right as cars rolled out for the start of practice on Fast Friday. Now, or rather, whatever, Carb Day, final day before cars are out on track before the race itself. Didn't really work according to the plan, but we'll see next year if that's possible, because that sounds really cool. Play golf. I'm probably not getting a hole-in-one, let's be honest. I'm not that good. Maybe these drivers are better than me at golf. They're definitely better at me than driving. And here they come onto pit lane, led down by Eduardo Lea. Red line 1, 2, 3, and 4. Do the shuffle. That's 16 laps of racing. We'll now put them on to the compound they want to be on. Bobby Zalenski and Jaden Munoz, by the way, they are fighting in front of Costantini and Kraus, who will take over the race lead on the 18th lap of this race. Let's keep an eye, though, on these teammates on pit lane. Very important to see if there are any changes in this cycle. Were there any drivers light on the right foot saving some fuel? About to find out. That's an awkward pit location for Gustavo Ariel, if I'm being honest. Eduardo Lea should win this race pretty handily, but it's Pinto versus Labigra. Ooh, Labigra out neck and neck alongside of his Portuguese teammate. Not quite 3 wide. You can't fit 3 Indy cars there, and Labigra does hold on. That's the team game. Team game at play. You were never going to see Redline battle off of pit lane. No, 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 no. Much too smart for that. So now, those on the primaries forced to go as long as possible. Munoz has got the best of Zalenski. Zalenski has been out on track for a lot longer, so his tires have done a lot more laps as well. That can't help him in this place. Kraus very content, it would seem, to save some fuel. We jump on board with Williams Esports driver and Sotomuto. Asking for every ounce of power out of that engine. And the teammates, by the way, you can see on the dash, you can see on the tower, push to pass galore for the red line quartet right now, although Eduardo Leo still yet to use his push to pass. He's saving them just in case. Not just push to pass, I say this quite often. Push to defend as well. Not much happening, though, in terms of on-track battles. The track map kind of shows how the field is stretched on out. We're riding on board once again with Sotomuto. 4-way fight for now. Net third of those who have not pitted. Cooper Webster, the one that's really seeing the pressure in the rearview mirrors, though. It's the sole surviving Apex Racing team driver. Peter Berryman, officially a DNF alongside of Nathan Moore, Ricardo Rico, Pablo Espez, and Tamas Shimon. Sam Coiter, of note, has headed back out onto track. So remember, qualified second. Wants to make sure he can maximize the points that he is accumulating right now. So maybe 2 more laps for your leaders. Both Kraus and Zalenski have dispatched of Bobby Zalenski the lap traffic, so clean air in front of them now. Phil Kraus, championship leader in the VCO INDYCAR Challenge. He's got his main rival, Costantini, directly in front of him. Remember, they'll be racing on Saturday from Road America, which will be not just, the next step of their championship fight there, but a very good build-up for what will be penultimate round of this championship. Of course, 2 weeks from today when we make our way to Road America. More and more drivers, though, on the push to pass. Is this recognition? We are reaching the in-laps, and each driver into their respective hammer time modes. If you want to know how many push to pass usages each driver has left in this race, they get 10 usages of the button over the course of the race. David Toth's down to 4. Daniel Ferguson, Eduardo Leo, they're both at 10. Jordan Caruso's burned through half. Doesn't seem to be any sort of consensus about what is the best way to utilize those very, very valuable push-to-passes as well. We've got a couple of different places in which they can really come in handy and give you that almost 70 extra horsepower down the straights. On board with Kraus again. Now he is another one of those yet to use the button, although we've got some takers down onto pit lane, it would seem. Because yeah, indeed, Caruso follows in Cooper Webster. And at the end of 21 laps, they've decided their primaries have done enough. Let's get those alternate compound tires on. Not expecting there to be any sort of battle with Eduardo Leo, who is already heading out of the final corner before Webster or Caruso have even hit their marks. This is a driver on top form right now. Really, really comfortable in the IndyCar, I've got to say. Flying, and what a pickup for Team Redline. Came into this summer, into this qualifying series, as an independent driver. There comes Webster and Caruso. Is it going to be close to Jaden Munoz? No, they're well clear of Munoz. Might still have some traffic around them, though. That was what was being picked up on the camera. Indeed, that was Oscar Mangan. He's 2 laps down, trying to, again, salvage something from this race, and we've got a split. Costantini in, Phil Kraus stays out. Ooh, lock up there from McEwen. And Sotomuto joins them. Right, this is very important. Who wins this race off the pit lane? As well, big lock up there behind from probably Jose Soria, points leader. He'll be very, very fortunate that he has not, if he has not rather, got a penalty. So Redline trio, 2nd through 4th, out of the final corners. Up on the jacks for Costantini. He's going to drop and roll. It's 7.9 seconds stationary. It's a pretty good stop, all things considered. But the Redline trio do have an advantage. Now, how big is the advantage? Let's find out. Wait for the next timing sector to really see the gap stabilize. As up to speed for Costantini, just in front of Cooper Webster. That gap has really come down, especially with a mistake from Costantini, wide on cold tires. Oh, Webster's threatening, and you worry for Kraus here. He's used the push-to-pass for the first time today, and he's gone 1 lap longer as well. Okay, this is interesting. Strategy battles a miss right now, and Nico Wisbicki, Drago Racing 24, 1 lap down, comes out of pit lane directly behind. On the box for Kraus, that's a bold call, you'd say. Cooper Webster now only 8/10 off the back of Costantini. The gap between Costantini and Gustavo Ariel has stabilized at 5 and a bit seconds. Has not really changed since the pit stop. So it's time for Costantini to shift into afterdrive. Let's see what happens to him. Jose Soria, by the way, did get a speeding penalty. I was right on that one. So where is Phil Kraus? Into pit lane this time by. So Eduardo Leo, net 2nd on track, but ready to re-inherit the race lead. And we're really trying to figure out, though, what is happening with Kraus in relation to the likes of Costantini and Webster, and how quickly can they close to now 4 teammates up front that are on the primary compound of tire, and maybe a little bit as a disadvantage for the next 5, maybe 8 laps of the stint. It's been a long wait for Kraus. He finally hits his marks. It's a good stop as well from him. Pit crew goes to work. Going to be a short stop, 7.7. So he's actually 0.2 quicker than Costantini in the box itself. But Kraus off the limiter now, as he passes that green cone. Costantini's already off into the opening corner, and Kraus ends up behind the Apex Racing team machine of Luke McEwen. Undercut works well. Overcut, work to do for Kraus. And the gap between Eduardo Leo and his teammates behind still steady. 2.5 seconds. Now these tires will fire up pretty quick. How aggressive is Kraus going to be? Drivers in front of him do have a decent amount of the push to pass left to use in defense. Not sure what that will mean. Connor Harrington says Gulfstream when. I think what we need to do is get a... Ooh! Phil Kraus distracts us from the Gulf with a big old wiggle. Cold tires clearly not up to temperature. But a driver that's pushing to the 10/10ths that he can. It's a little bit too much curb as well maybe there. Trying to induce a little bit more rotation. Not necessarily going the way that was intended. I mean, heavens above. One more look. Somewhere Phil Kraus, change of underwear required. That could have very well been his chance at qualifying up in smoke. That one little spin. Anyway, Gulfstream when? I think what we need to do is me, Lewis, we'll get Peter Mackay in this as well because he is an avid golfist. But he's also single-digit handicap, I'm pretty sure. So he's gonna have to give me some strokes when we go play. But we'll go to St. Andrews, and we'll play there for you, Connor, and we'll stream it all. Lewis has got a golf channel, so we've already got a pre-existing home for it. Now, let's get back to the race for the remaining 11 laps. Phil Kraus to the outside, down to turn 1. It's a long way to do it, but he's got a little bit more confidence than I think Luke McEwen does in that car. And up to 7th, that's one spot. It means Cooper Webster up next. And Webster did show that he is very good at being frustrating to pass at the Barber Motorsports Park a week ago. So Sotomuto, by the way, in a fight with Jordan Caruso. Also a fight brewing now between Nico Wisbicki and Jaden Munoz. This is a little bit further down. Wisbicki on the alternates. Munoz, let's not forget, on the primaries that have to go a long way. And Wisbicki back up into 15th position. Daniel Ferguson is there as well. And Nico Wisbicki is trying to use the push to pass to run away and avoid getting involved in a draft battle here. Ferguson clearly not comfortable enough in fuel. Got to be very careful on the right foot through that section there, but Ferguson navigates through pretty successfully. Let's go back up front, though. We missed the pass. Cooper Webster has indeed lost the spot to Phil Kraus, but really the question now becomes, what happens in that battle to break away? Why did he miss it? Well, let's be honest, it's not really much that's exciting about a push-to-pass assisted move down into turn 1, where they're clear before the braking zone. But there you go. You've seen it now. RaceSpotTV replay machine does not miss much. And again, you've got to give the credit to your race leader, Eduardo Leo, doing an absolutely sterling job at this time to keep his teammates at arm's reach. Only problem is, well, his teammates have been caught. And now, oh, there we go. Eduardo Leo, 10 to go. The first time he uses one of his 10 push-to-passes. He's done the math. He's working backwards. Look at that math, though. Cha-ching. 6/10 on lap 26 and lap 27. Quarter of a second last lap. Now Costantini's dealing with some dirty air. Got Luke McEwen, Cooper Webster quite close behind. I think Webster, remember, came in quite early. I think he, struggling on tires, might be using the tires a bit more than anyone else is right now. Look at the back of the shot as we rumble down Holman Boulevard once again. Ooh, backs out of it. A drive of someone knowing points are more valuable than positions. And good to see heads-up driving in top split competition, in any esports competitions, let's be honest. I can only imagine what driving standards are going to be like when we make our way to the main championship itself. Fingers crossed. And eyes averted. I tell you what, though, Lebigra, Pinto, and Gustavo Ariel have put themselves in a big, big hole with their usage of the push-to-pass. Wait for them to finish flashing on the left side of your screen. Pinto's got 4, Lebigra 4, Ariel 5. Costantini's got them covered off if he wants to. Meanwhile, Luke McEwen makes the move. Nice move. Webster can't switch it back and slide his way around. And 7th changes hands. 8 laps still left to go. Look off the back of your train leader now, Florian Lebigra. It's going through his mind. All he's got to do, really, if you think about it, is help Pinto and Gustavo Ariel with draft. Hope that Costantini doesn't pass. And he's a little bit safer, right? That's one way of looking at it. Other way is, so the alternate tires still have something left to give. Have we already reached the crossover point with dirty air being brought into the mix as well? It's a really fascinating place we find ourselves in right now. Can tell you David Toth has driven off the road, not lost much time by any means, a second or so. But any driver that had left any off tracks on the table, they are taking full advantage of that now. Got a couple of different fights brewing, and you've got to remember that every single point in this top split, in the third split, it matters. Because it's the top 33 in points that qualify. And so for the likes of Jaden Munoz and Nico Isbicki, Daniel Ferguson, remember, compound battle. What's going to happen between them? Meanwhile, Kraus lunges up the inside of Costantini at turn 7. Munoz passes Isbicki into turn 1. All action across the shop, and now Phil Kraus, the one with the impetus to try and close to the red line trio. Interesting. So maybe Costantini did come in 2 laps earlier than Kraus. Maybe he does not have the tire left to fight. And if you're red line, riding on board with Gustavo Ariel, you can see the gap. Ooh, Phil Kraus being hidden away by the rear wing. It's not really shrunk, I should say. What's that quote? It's one thing to catch, it's another thing to pass. 5 to go next time by. This might be more difficult than was anticipated. And it might just be as simple as Redline have the fastest car here today. Would be good to chat with Kraus, Costantini post-race and get their sense on how things could have gone. As it seems like right now they don't naturally seem to be in a position to get onto the podium, which is traditionally the only 3 drivers that we do interview. Might just be a red line little chat here on RaceSpotTV. Every driver is using that push to pass at this point. No one wants to leave anything spare come the end of this race. Gap under a second between Kraus and those in front. Definitely doesn't seem like Kraus is holding back here. And you know, I was talking about this when we were looking at championship standings. Big slide there from Kraus once again. The top 12, there's 4 drivers that you could count as regular IndyCar runners, Michele Costantini aside, because Michele, as much as he is an IndyCar regular, he's not as regular as Kraus, Rob Malechka, Josh Chin, Adam Crane. A lot of those drivers who race on a weekly basis in our Monday night broadcast that we have of the iRacing IndyCar Open Championship, an official series racing every 2 hours. Phil Kraus was probably the one that most thought would be there and challenging. Now, I'm pretty sure on a couple of occasions there he hit the hard limiter. You do want to get as close to 12,000 RPM as possible. Not sure that close. He's faster than me, though. And once again, gap just continues to shrink on down. Nikodem Wozbicki, by the way, more mistake. Passed by Daniel Ferguson for 16th position. But right now, it's all eyes, center focus from those in the pagoda, both in the VIP boxes and race control and the broadcast rooms. All 5 in the fight effectively still for second. Yes, Costantini being dropped can be covered in a single camera shot. The Biga is almost 5 seconds behind Eduardo Leo now. Again, just another reminder, future's bright for the young Italian. Red line swooping in quickly to pick up a driver who was on the free market for not very long. Time's running out though, and Phil Kraus, first lap that he has not closed on Gustavo Ariel in front of him, at least in quite a while. Yeah, it's 70,700ths of a second that he's slower. But with 3 laps to go, every thousandth matters now. It is quite nice having this new layout of the Indianapolis road course, though. Of course, for a long time, we had the old double hairpin at the start of the lap. One of the corners in sim racing and all of motorsport that I hated the most. Really frustrating. It's just one of those corners. Up front, by the way, here he comes. 2 to go for your race leader as he's going to rumble across the yard of bricks once more. Eduardo Leo, 2 laps to go, 2 push-to-passes to go. This has been a race exactly according to the plan. And from Redline's perspective as well, they'd probably say the same thing, with the exception of Sam Koituk being tangled up in the unfortunate incident on the start of the race. Couldn't really have gone much better for them. Once again over the curb. I think that's it. Kraus is officially now 1.2 back. Now, he did close a little bit the last lap, but margins aren't meaning enough. And again, it's strategy, right? If Kraus had come in on the same lap as Costantini, things could have been a bit different. Now, I know he would have been dropping off at this point of the race, yes. But maybe he could have gotten a bit closer to try and actually make a move, because, let's be honest, neither Costantini or Kraus really threatened at any stage, but ready, white flag in hand, and it's red line 1 through 4 as we get ready to go and get ready to drop the checkered flag here and see the midway part of the championship officially have come and gone. 3 races left to go after this. I think at this point, drivers recognize what's left for them to do. How much work is still required if they need to get some more consistent results to put themselves into the top 33, or if just staying out of trouble and putting themselves in the right place at the right time will be enough. Like, one thing that we know for sure, we saw it at Barber, and we've learned it here today as well. If they didn't have this car figured out over the course of the summer before. All the hard work, well, they figured it out now. Out of the final corner. It's back-to-back wins for Team Redline after Apex did it to start the season off. Here at the racing capital of the world, it's Eduardo Leo, the winner in the 4th round of the INDYCAR Buttkicker iRacing qualifying series. Another statement victory from the young Italian driver, Labigra, Pinto and Gustavo Ariel. Redline 1 through 4 before Phil Kraus and Michele Costantini. And then Luke McEwen just within striking distance of that battle for second. What a thriller it was all the way to the very end. Was not quite to be. Meanwhile, Jaden Munoz still wheel to wheel with Manuel Kubo Torres. Oh, but now off the track, and one more thing for Nim Cross to take a look at. Kubo Torres started at the back. Wiggle from Munoz is not really going to mean much in the grand scheme of things. And so 13 positions gained for Manuel Kubo Torres. He is the biggest mover in today's race. Another couple of drivers do gain 10 positions as well, so staying out of trouble did have its part to play in success for some here today. Not necessarily the case for your race leader. Did not lead every lap, no. Fuel strategy and tire strategy saw him come in and give up a handful of those lead laps. But an absolutely dominant display, to say the very least. And at the end of Holman Boulevard, he'll burn it down in victory lane. We'll give him a second to enjoy this moment, and then hopefully we'll be able to grab a chat with your race winner and maybe even with a couple more drivers before wrapping up coverage and then looking forward to our race next time out, once again on the ovals, making our way to the Worldwide Technology Raceway. Celebrations have come to an end. Maybe the fuel has come to an end as well. Let's go ahead and take a look at those race results. It's almost 6 full seconds, the margin of victory. What a drive from Eduardo Leo. Labigra, Pinto and Ariel all within around 2 seconds of one another. Labigra passing both Pinto and some other drivers. Remember Sam Coitet starting second. Really for Diogo Pinto, just staying out of trouble after the win at Barber, racking up some more points, keeps himself inside of that top 5. Phil Kraus, Costantini, McEwen, Webster, Muto and Caruso. That's the rest of the top 10, and split by around a good 20 seconds or so, really showing that those Redline cars had the right strategy for the car that they brought today. David Toth, Michael Romanidis, Michael Gianni, Manuel Kubo Torres, Jaden Munoz, and then Daniel Ferguson, Nico Rosbicki, Lucas Prada, Jose Soria. All your drivers scored on the lead lap. So your points leader, Jose Soria, takes a bit of a hit here today. Let's see how things are going to get shaken up as a result of this. 1 lap down for Bobby Zelensky, 2 laps down for Elliot Veyron, and then 8 laps for Oscar Mangan. I think technically a DNF for him and those behind. Coitet, Berryman, Moore, Espes, Rico, and Tamas Shimon. Right, let's see if we can catch up with Eduardo Leo. Eduardo, do we have a copy?
Good evening, can you hear me?
We got you loud and clear on the first try this time, so I'll count that as a win. Eduardo, what a sterling drive from you. You won here in the first round of the VCO IndyCar Challenge as a privateer driver. You've won here now again, one of the most historic tracks in all of the world, but you've done so with Team Redline and in such an impressive fashion as well. How are you feeling, especially with how strong the car that you and the team brought here today was?
Yeah, this was an amazing race. It might be an hot take, to be fair, but I don't quite like this track. But I guess I'm fast, so yeah, I'll make sure to enjoy it every time I drive, because yeah, the pace was amazing today. I had no problem to control from the front, and from flag to flag it was simply just about managing the tires. It was a very simple race, and yeah, even though I've been struggling quite a lot in this qualifying series lately, I have to say now I found my pace back, even though the time is not helping me, as it's 3 o'clock here in the night. So for sure it's not easy, but we try to do the most we can, and this time we pulled off a great result also for the team.
Yeah, I guess that's true for, with the exception of Gustavo Ariel, that's true for all of the Team Redline drivers, and it's something you're going to have to deal with, assuming you make the championship series as well. So talk me through how you deal with that. How do you prepare? How do you adjust for these late races? Because I'm guessing you're not up at 3 in the morning every single night of the week. You've got some other stuff to do as well.
Oh, of course. No, I mean, it's a bit easier this time, it's summer, so you don't have a lot of stuff to do on the day, so I can afford to wake up pretty late in the morning, so to make sure that the day is not super long, otherwise it might get a bit stressful, the anxiety and everything. In the actual series, I might have to figure out something else because, of course, I have to go to school. So I don't know. I'll make sure to adjust my sleep schedule accordingly. So I guess I'll figure it out later.
I don't know. I think we need to get your school to give you some excuses for the days that you'll miss. One final question. We'll let you go. How much did the setup change from that first round of the VCO IndyCar setup? I see you managed to find an extra gear.
Well, I'm going to be completely honest, the setup was good from the start. Even though it's starting to get a bit old now because of course development is going on, but no, it felt good. I didn't have to click on it. It was pretty fine. So I'm surprised about the pace, honestly, because in VCO it wasn't that easy. But yeah, everything played well. So just happy like this. We're not gonna change a lot.
Well, from Eduardo Leo, winner for Team Redline here from the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Let's make our way down to third, where Diogo Pinto standing by. Diogo started third, ran second at times, of course, after Sam's unfortunate incident. Florian made the pass on you. No real movements being made. We know that Redline will work together in situations like this. How did it feel? Another solid day for the team. You seemingly have finally dialed in this Dallara IR18.
Yeah, it was another good round for the team. Unfortunately, me and Sam had a really big netcode at the start, so it's quite sad to see Sam go that way. But at least some other guys that needed the points, they got the points. And yeah, running P2, then I was digging a little bit on the soft, so Florian at that point was faster, so no point of me holding him up. And from there on, it was quite smooth till the end.
They're not softs, Diogo. This is IndyCar. They're called alternates. I'm going to drill that into you. One thing we were just talking about with Eduardo, and I'm curious from your perspective, given that you're maybe a bit more experienced than him, you've done a bit more sim racing at this level. It's early in the morning for you too. How do you deal with this? How do you build it into your schedule so you're able to perform at these awkward hours?
Well, 2 days, and the day before the race, I always try to wake up a little bit later so I'm fresher by the time the race starts, which is at 1 AM for me. And I think it's quite helpful, helps me being fresher, but still it's quite tiring, especially at the end of the race. But yeah, I guess it's part of the challenge. There's a lot of European guys. I guess the majority of the field is European, so yeah, we just have to maximize our situation and try to be fresh for the race.
Well, seemingly you've been able to do that. And before we let you go, you talk about challenges. We're oval racing next week. Iowa was a challenge in the VCO IndyCar challenge. How are you feeling about Gateway, of course? Egg-shaped oval. It's quite a short race compared to Iowa as well, so should be a little bit different in terms of strategy and how you approach the race, I'm guessing.
It's going to be quite good for us to get up to speed in the oval because we cannot go into the World Championship and leave points on the table in the oval round. So we need to at least be competitive enough where we are in the top half of the table and maximize our results. And these races, I guess most of us are comfortable on points now, so we're going to use this round to prep and get up to speed.
Well, best of luck next week, and we'll see how things run for the rest of the championship, Diogo. Congrats on another great day and another great performance for Team Redline.
Thank you. See you.
Well, that's Diogo Pinto. Didn't get the chance to chat with Florian Lebigra, but, well, what an interesting chat with both Leo and Pinto about the challenges of competing in a series like this. And next week, over to what is one of my favorite ovals to commentate on. To be fair, I say that about basically every oval. Iowa's great, IMS is great, Milwaukee's great, Pocono's great. Well, I can keep going on and on. This one, though, two different ends of the racetrack, and so very, very unique in terms of setup, how you approach it, and so very much looking forward. August 15th, same time, same place, here live on RaceSpotTV to seeing how that is all going to rumble. And it all leads us, of course, into then 2 more road races to wrap up the championship. It's going to be 2 very interesting races as well, because Road America, America's national park of speed, it's known for the high speed, known for the 90-degree corners. Mid-Ohio, it's tight, it's technical, it's known for a lack of passing opportunities. Could not get 2 more distinct tracks to end the qualifying series off, and that's what makes American open wheel racing, it's what makes INDYCAR racing so interesting, both in the real and the virtual world. You heard it from Pinto, the championship series itself, 10 rounds, 6 of them road courses, 4 ovals. You can't drop any points, you've got to make sure you maximize them. For our team here behind the scenes at RaceSpotTV though, thanks for your company. Arjuna Kankipati saying goodbye. What fun to be back here on 16th Street. Can't wait to do it once again, but until next week, from the Gateway Arch, it's the Team Red Line on top, and it's Eduardo Leo winning once again here from the Indianapolis Motor Speedway.